You just can't quit Kirby Smart. When he gets into these situations, they win the game. That was Joel Klatt from Fox Sports, who I think he'll call one more game, one more holiday game, maybe the Holiday Bowl. And that's what he's talking about with the playoff with Kirby Smart. He picked Oregon to beat the Dogs in the national championship game. I thought it was a curious comment from Joel Klatt about Kirby. I think listen, Georgia has won a lot of games over the last however many years, this decade. It was since 2017. They've lost 17, maybe something like that, 18 games. Kirby Smart has done a great job of getting the job done through the years. And, they do win a lot of big games at Georgia. I mean, when you start thinking about how many top 10 wins that he's got, I mean, the guy's 105-18. I missed one game, but in 17, I'll just raffle them off right now. I mean, I'm not sure there's been a year Georgia's had they've not had at least one top 10 win in the season. And in 2017, they beat number 2 Auburn. They beat number 2 Oklahoma. In 2018, they beat number 9 Florida, number 9 Kentucky. In 2019, which is probably their not best year, they beat number 6 Florida, number 7 Notre Dame. In 2020, they beat number 7 Auburn. They beat number 8 Cincinnati. In 21, they beat number 3 Clemson. Where are we at? Number 3 Clemson. Number 8 Arkansas. We're not counting number 11. Number 2 Michigan. Number 1 Alabama. In 22, they beat number 22. Every quote big game they played, they won. So they beat, Oregon was number 11. They beat number 1 Tennessee, number 4 Ohio State, number 3 Texas Christian. In 2013, they beat you're getting the point, right? I mean, they beat number 9 Ole Miss at home. They beat number 5 Florida State in the Orange Bowl. In 2024, they beat number 1 Texas on the road. They beat number 7 Tennessee. They beat number 2 Texas. It's a lot of wins this season for Georgia in top 10 situations. So when Joel's talking about that, about how, Kirby understands sort of these moments, I guess you could say, you just can't quit Kirby Smart. What does that mean? Here's what it means to me, okay? It's that Kirby, for all of his, the difficulty, I guess you could say, that you get with Kirby, as a reporter, he does an excellent job of preparing his teams for the moment. And I think fans have a hard time understanding that just because a team plays a particular way one week, that they'll play a way that same way the next week. And that's not always what happens. Kirby's teams seem to play best when it's time to play best. I want you to check out what we got here at Red Zone. Look, the Christmas time, they're going to be closed. The hours are normal until Christmas Eve, and they're going to be closed at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. So, get down there. It's the normal stuff if you see it online. But Tuesday, Christmas Eve, they're not going to be there after 2 o'clock. So if you're in Athens, if you're in Gwinnett County, if you're in Monroe, if you're in, wherever, Hiwassee, if you need to come, all of these are awesome. These are awesome gifts. They're very rare. These will be absolute killer gifts. Run down there, Christmas Eve, do it on Sunday. You can do it Saturday. You run down on Clayton Street downtown. I'm telling you, this is just a neat shirt, and you could actually wear this to the bowl game. It's not specifically Christmas. I think it's Christmas, but it's saying this is the most wonderful time of the year, which is the bowl games. Hunker down the chimney. That's definitely Christmas. So go down to Red Zone. They are so awesome, and we're talking about them all the way up to the Sugar Bowl. I don't, I'm recording this before I know the outcome of IU Notre Dame, so I don't know who's going to win that game. I don't know who. Notre Dame's favored. My suspicion is Notre Dame will win that game, but I think either way, this is a challenging game for Georgia. They've got, you're replacing your starting quarterback probably for the entire playoff. That could be one game. That could be 3. So it's the value of the SEC championship game. This is a tricky thing to discuss. the value of the SEC championship has to be balanced between, well, we won the league and we got a bye and we lost our starting quarterback. So, but I think because you have a capable backup in Gunnar Stockton and now a starter in Gunnar Stockton, who has, come in big moments. I think that, that's one thing Joel Klatt was talking about was, Kirby understands this. He's been through it. I mean, he's won a national champion. This is not what Joel Klatt said, but I will point out the fact that Georgia has won a national championship with their backup quarterback. People forget that. They like JT Daniels doesn't exist anymore. This is the funny part. And JT Daniels was the presumed starter. I mean, there were people, I'll put it to you this way. There were people on Georgia's staff that still thought that JT was the right call going into the playoff. Now, I don't think that I can report that is a true statement. Now, were they real loud about it? I don't know, but that was their view. I don't think that anyway, that was their view. Now, with that said, I don't think people had a love-hate relationship with Stetson Bennett for couple different reasons. A, he was a starting quarterback at Georgia, and this is what we do in society now. B, Stetson didn't play well against Alabama, period. And that gave a lot of people, jitters because they knew that they knew. I mean, it looked pretty obvious to all of us that Georgia would be playing Alabama if they beat Michigan. Well, he goes down there and balls out totally against Michigan. And I think only after the game, I remember that night so clearly. And when you've reported, you've been at, I don't know. I mean, Kirby's had 100 and however many games. I probably covered, I don't know, 300 games, 350 Georgia games, something like that. I bet you I've heard Battle Hymn of the Republic more than any person not named Claude Felton. So I'm getting all sorts of holiday cheer here. But only when Stetson reached back and threw that ball to A.D. Mitchell and then backed that up with, because Stetson started that game not well. He did not play well. And the other thing that was convoluted going into the Orange Bowl was Kirby wouldn't answer the question. He would not lock down that Stetson Bennett was their starting quarterback. It was Todd Monken that did that. Kirby is not going to answer any. Generally speaking, Kirby's not going to answer any injury questions, any depth chart questions. That's not something he's going to do, and that's his prerogative as a coach, as a human being. He doesn't have to answer any questions. He don't want to. But I do think it led to some. I know it led to doubt outside of the building, and I'm sure would say, well, it doesn't matter what happens outside the building, which is fine too. But outside the building for sure, particularly when you're not answering the question, but or locking it down is the way I'd put it. But they go into the Michigan game, and Stetson just destroys Michigan. He absolutely destroys Michigan. But there was so much angst going up to Indianapolis. I mean, part of it was the snow, which was not a lot of fun for some people driving. Me. Poor Matt DeBerry. He was probably freaking out the whole time because we were in his SUV. And, Ryan was up there. Dylan met us up there. I mean, it was a whole thing. But that was really when Georgia proved it to me. I mean, Kirby, you're not a national champion until you're a national champion. So, what Joel Klatt's talking about is that the last 7, I think it's 7, Florida State, the 2 in 22, the 2 in 21, the 1 in 2019. So the last 7, BCS, or not BCS, college football playoff games or playoffs, Georgia's won them all. And so you really couldn't say that before because they had lost whereas they'd won the Rose Bowl, they lost the national championship game to Alabama. And this is a dreadful showing at Texas against Texas in the Sugar Bowl. But that moment, actually, I do think the Texas game after the 18th season was one of the critical learning moments for Kirby Smart. head coach. And from that point forward, they've not lost a bowl game, or a postseason game, I should say. And at some stage they will, but they have not since. And they learned a lot from that. They took a lot of notes. They studied themselves after that game. There were a lot of personnel decisions that were made that no longer were permitted after that. And, and I think, that's not the reason, but there's a lot of different reasons why. And when you say you can't quit Kirby, I mean, he has learned. He is a very bright person. He is extremely intelligent, I would say. Sometimes he's too smart for his own good. That happens to the best of us. But we say you just can't quit Kirby Smart. When he gets in these situations, they win the game. He may be talking more too, not just exclusively about the playoff, but about the game at Texas, the SEC championship game against Texas, the Tennessee Georgia game in 2022, just whatever. I mean, Georgia's not lost a lot of games lately, and there are teams in this thing that can beat them. Let's not forget that they lost their starting quarterback. He's gone. Like, he's not going to play. It certainly doesn't look like that to me or anybody who's reporting. So that's not going to happen, and you're going to have to, roll with a guy that you're going to get. Not 3 weeks. It's about 3.5 weeks to get ready. I mean, Gunner was in there on the 7th. Today's the 21st. That's 2 weeks. You got 3 and a little bit. You got 3.5 weeks to get Gunner Stockton ready. That's about a fall camp. So it's a little shorter than a fall camp. And the good news on that front is they just rolled him in there. They rolled him in there and he won. Well, and now they've got a little bit more time to do what they need to do to win. And it will be curious to me to watch and see what happens when we get to New Orleans. As I say, I'm recording this a few hours before Indiana and Notre Dame play. It looks snowy, it looks nasty. This is what those northern teams wanted. That's what they're getting. It's going to be a clash of teams from Indiana, which I did not see coming. I don't think anybody did. But, Kirby has shown time and time again that he does understand how to coach these things. However, they are in a different situation this time. You do not have an experienced quarterback. You've got a guy that's never starting. So this is not like Stetson Bennett. This is a completely new situation. I'm trying to think of, first game starters for Kirby, in their record. You had, Jacob started his second game. He won. You had Grayson Lambert start his first game. He won. Jake Fromm, that's 3. He started at Notre Dame and won. Dwan Mathis was a starter, but he won that game. And then Stetson won that game. JT won his first game. And then Carson won his first game. So I'm not aware of a starting quarterback at Georgia whose first game Georgia didn't play and win. But most of those games, most of them, not all of them, were not super tricky. I mean, Grayson started against North Carolina. He didn't even play the entire game. Jacob was going up against Nicholls State. This is all go off the top of my head. Jake Fromm was at Notre Dame. Dwan Mathis was at Arkansas. Not a very good team, but they won the game. And then you had Stetson against Auburn, top 10 Auburn at home that day, and Bo Nix. And then Carson's first start was against UT Martin. I can't remember who he started against. So they've had a lot of good success, but about half the games have been gimmies. So I wouldn't, and some have been really tough too. So there's that. But I think Klatt's right in many aspects. I do want to acknowledge this is a very different situation. Thanks for watching.